All right, so the second transformation that we are going to look at is called a translation. So today is the 16th, so have your notes out. We're going to write just a couple things about translations. We're going to define what it is, what it looks like, some properties of translations, and then I'm going to show you guys how to do a translation with tracing paper. And then you guys are going to practice working on those translations. Okay. So when we're talking about a translation, we still have our pre-image, and we are moving to our pre-image to a new location. So we often call translation slides. So slide helps us to remember what it is, so I'm going to highlight that. So translations are slides. So we physically take the picture that we start with and we slide it. So it's different than a reflection in the fact that there's no flipping going on. We are just sliding it, okay? So we need to know where that new location is going to be. So our vector determines that new location. So highlight that. So what the vector does, it describes the direction of the slide and the distance of the slide. So it's going to look like arrows. That's what a vector will look like. Okay. We can also, so we have vectors, we can also represent vectors by ordered pairs. And ordered pairs are an X and a Y. So if I take one picture, another triangle, I love to use triangles. They're nice and easy. So I'm going to take this triangle and I'm going to slide this triangle by this vector. So this is going to be, this is my start, this is my stop. So this is going to be A prime. So I'm going to try and eyeball this and draw the same vector. And draw the same vector here. And then connect my points. So each one of these lines, from here to here, from here to here, from here to here, those are all vectors. Okay. So your picture doesn't have to be perfect. Don't worry about that. So what I want you guys to do, I'm going to show you guys how to do a slide with tracing paper. So if you could have your packets out to page 9, I'm going to show you what that looks like. All right. So everyone have their packet out, right? All right, so we have a vector again. So we said a vector has direction and magnitude, which is distance. So it tells us where to start and where to stop. So here, the arrow shows us where to stop. This is to show us where we start. Okay. So once again, since we're using tracing paper, you need a pencil. So make sure you guys have a pencil. Okay. So we're gonna slide this figure, ABC, in the direction and magnitude of the vector using tracing paper. So this vector is gonna end up, we're gonna call it B prime, because where this starts, it ends at B prime, okay? So what we're gonna do, and we need a ruler for this, because we need to extend our vector. So we're gonna do that even before we start tracing anything. So extend your vector. It doesn't have to be as long as the old vector. We just need to make sure we don't end up kind of rotating our paper. So extend out your vector, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I am on the rough side again. I am going to trace, and you can just do the vertices, A, B, and C. It makes it go a little bit faster. And I need to trace the vector. Okay, so now this is where it's a little different than a reflection. So I can't just flip this over because it's not a flip, right? It's a slide. So we need to make sure and move our points that we're sliding onto the back of the tracing paper. So without my paper underneath, I'm going to flip over my tracing paper, and I'm going to trace the vertices on the back of my tracing paper, okay? So that makes sure that when I go over it again, there's pencil on the back of it. So I'm gonna flip it back over. Don't forget to flip this back over, okay? So I'm gonna I'm gonna line it up. I'm gonna line my vector up, line my points up, and what I'm gonna do is I'm going to slide this along on the extended line. And the end of my vector, I need to stop where the end of the arrow is. So once again, I'm going to show you guys. So you have this arrow, this is my vector. I'm going to slide it along my extension, and I'm going to stop at the end of the arrow, because remember that shows us our stop. So now, since there's pencil or lead on the back, because I flipped it over, right? Now I can retrace A, B, and C and have it transfer to the back of my, on my paper. So now that I have that slide, I can go through. So this is point A, prime, because that's my new image. This is B prime, and this is C prime. So now I can take a ruler. I can go through and connect all the points. And we have a translation, a slide, taking this triangle and sliding it to the next triangle, okay? So this vector, I can name it B prime. And notice there has to be an arrow above it, okay? So what we're gonna talk about tomorrow is our vector components, as in, hey, I can also name and describe vectors as a ordered pair. So we're gonna talk about that tomorrow. So what I want you guys to do is work on the next couple of pages that have slides on them that you would just use the tracing paper.